All right, the Nintendo Switch 2 is here. Shout out to Nintendo for sending it to us like a little early. We've had it in our hands for 24 hours now, so we're gonna do what we do with these hardware before you buys, where we just go in and give some quick first impressions. Just talk about some hardware insights here. We'll talk more in depth about the games separately, but some of this might feel a little bit nitpicky here and there, but it's essentially me going through and just trying to point out as many little interesting things I can. Just for you guys, if you're interested in the Switch, if you didn't get your hands on a Switch 2, but just to know what you're getting into.
Look, long story short, if you just want to like skip to the end, is Nintendo Switch 2 worth it? I would argue, unless you're super excited for Mario Kart World, no, not right now. It's really just the launch lineup. That's all it comes down to. This launch, this Switch 2, isn't really surprising. You know what you're getting. It's a spec bump. It's an upgrade of the original Switch. So, is it the most incredible thing ever? No, but I think down the line, with a really good lineup, it'll be another good Nintendo handheld, if you like Nintendo.
So first things first, if you're coming from an original launch Nintendo Switch to the Switch 2, this feels premium. It kind of reminds me a little bit more of the Switch OLED in terms of finish on the back and stuff like that, but overall, when you hold this, it just generally feels sturdier, a little bit more premium, a little bit more like quality made, and I think some of that comes down to the JoyCon connections, which I'll get to in a little bit, but ultimately, weight-wise, to me, this is just my personal, experience. Maybe my hands are a little weak, but I did find it noticeably heavier, but with that just comes a little bit more room for your hands on the Joy-Cons because the Joy-Cons themselves are just a little bit longer. This device is bigger than the original Nintendo Switch significantly. Even the Switch OLED, which I have compared next to here, it is bigger than that. It's not the biggest handheld I've used by far, but it's a good size. The upgraded screen size is definitely noticeable, and as much as I wish this was OLED, so far, the screen has been pretty responsive, pretty sharp. Unfortunately, not the greatest performance if you bring it outside, but why are you bringing this thing outside right away? You're not like us, right? We're insane. We take these consoles and we immediately bring them out into the real world for some reason. But again, hand feel is good. It's a bit less rattly. It feels a little bit less like a toy and more of like, a fancy, expensive device. The fact that it's got two USB-C ports, one on the bottom, one on the top, that's great. The bottom one, of course, is for the dock connection, but the top is for like, I guess, an accessory, but also both ports charge. I made sure to check that. The SD card slot, nicely enough, is actually just tucked underneath the Kickstand. Make sure you have a good enough micro SD card because I tried to take the one from my original Switch and it didn't hack it. You need the extreme SD cards rated. But speaking of the Kickstand, I like the Kickstand a lot. While it's thinner and you would assume it's flimsy, it's not because of the quality of the material of the back body. It just feels really sturdy and it's got a really, really strong range of motion. You can really do a lot with this thing. Also, the game card slot I think is really nice. They've compensated for people like me who have short, stubby, weird fingernails, so this thing is easy to pop open, and then also it's just got a nice connective point to it. It's like really sturdy and it slides right in with like a nice little rail. I appreciate small little redesign elements like that. Also, as much as I wish the Joy-Cons had a bit more color to them, I do appreciate that it feels like the black finish, the black matte finish, is surprisingly fingerprint resistant. I mean, I've been manhandling this thing for 24 hours with my grubby mitts, mostly playing handheld, and you don't really see a lot of fingerprints on it. The screen, of course, you're going to see fingerprints, but on the black finish, not so bad. Better than I expected. The Joy-Cons themselves, I was not convinced. I like the way the old Joy-Cons slid on and clicked, but now after using them, this just makes sense. It doesn't make the cool snap noise anymore, but it still makes a cool noise. But ultimately, I keep using the word connection, but like it just feels like a good connective point. The back trigger is easy to release. It snaps right back on. It feels like a little bit magic and now, especially too, going back to the old Switch and awkwardly sliding them off. It never felt awkward, but now using this and how just easy on, easy off this is, the original Switch feels awkward in comparison. So good upgrade. The Joy-Cons themselves, I do wish at this point, like a Steam Deck or something like that, there was a little bit more of a dip to them, like a hand grip to them. I understand the design. They're still going for you taking it off and using it as a little controller. But now that it's a little bigger, a little heavier, I wish my hands here had a bit more to grip other than just a flat surface. Of course, a lot of this is first impressions, but also just personal preference, so you may feel differently. Otherwise, though, the Joy-Cons are good. The straps that they come with are good. And believe it or not, and I said this in a previous video on my other channel, youtube.com/JakeBaldino, I went in depth when I previewed it talking about the mouse functionality. And I'm actually still genuinely surprised how good that mouse functionality actually is. I don't have a ton of gameplay footage of it here. I've only just started using it with a launch unit, but I think some people are going to be surprised. Whether or not developers and Nintendo, the first party developers, support it long term, I don't know, but I just found it more precise than I expected, and navigating menus in games like Civ were actually pretty good. Moving on over to the Joy-Con grip, this pack-in, like this is the simple version, I didn't really like it. I think that design-wise, it has this bit of negative space by the palms, and I feel like it means your palms, like your thumb here, is kind of resting in a weird spot. It feels like a bit of a downgrade design-wise, but still, I'm glad that they pack this in with the console. It's still good to just snap them in and get playing on something that feels more like a controller. I just wish they didn't tweak the design so much, because it's like an if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. But the experience so far has been great. The menus and stuff have been really snappy. Jumping into the eShop, backing out of the eShop, checking out the Nintendo Switch online stuff, it feels way faster. You don't sit there, you're not dealing with that loading, like menus overall. It just feels way more eager to jump into things. It doesn't feel like it's struggling behind like the weight of its own stuff it's got going on, if that makes sense. And UI wise and experience wise overall, it's incredibly familiar. You're going to jump into this and you're not going to be like, it's a brand new thing. It feels like an evolution of the Nintendo Switch. The menu UI, very, very similar. The bottom button icons are a little bit redesigned, a little quirkier, a little cuter, new sounds and menu sounds all around, which I do appreciate. The new Switch 2 chat functionality and all that stuff, as much as I don't like that it's got a dedicated button on the handheld that like you technically have to pay a subscription for, I don't love that, and I wasn't really able to test that stuff too much anyway. I did test the microphone, and it's decent enough. I'd say it gets the job done. It sounds kind of on par with like one of your lower cost gaming headsets. Overall, the experience is good. The game cartridge thing felt pretty natural, as much as there's a whole other video we could talk about digital ownership and stuff like that. All of that stuff has been pretty seamless, and that's interesting considering sometimes Nintendo stuff isn't really seamless. It really feels like they've honed a lot here. The dock itself still feels relatively simple, like it did. It feels, plastic, a little bit lighter than I would hope, but it gets the job done. It's a dock. When it is docked, having HDR is great. I think on screen, it is really nice to see like a good high quality Switch game and Switch interface on a TV with vibrant colors, better fidelity, the power a lot of people were asking for. The dock is very simple. I'm glad it just has power, HDMI, which it also comes with a high-speed HDMI cable, and also there's an Ethernet port, which is good because I've noticed that download speeds on just the device itself via Wi-Fi, even with really kick-ass Wi-Fi, it's still pretty slow. And with the dock, while the Switch itself has really good fingerprint resistance, the dock does not. The dock did not seem to get that treatment. So just be aware. You're going to get fingerprints all over this thing, especially if you're manhandling it like I am. I keep using the word manhandling also. I should probably stop that. Anyway, the only other thing experience-wise, and this is a very small thing, but some people I think would appreciate knowing this, is that the wake-up time is ever so slightly less response. Like it's like a matter of when you press the power button, comes alive, you hit the button, you got to hit it. There's like a millisecond delay that the original Switch doesn't have, that this does. It's really, really a very small thing to point out. It's not a big deal, but some people might notice it. And the games, so far, a couple of things. The big one, especially if you got the bundle, Mario Kart World. My first impression is that it doesn't feel like a game worth $80, but it is another good Mario Kart. It's a lot of what you expect, but there's fun little variations in terms of like how you navigate the world. In between the kind of more open tracks, the level designs are absolutely incredible. Grinding on rails is really cool. Surfing on waves when you switch to a boat feels even better this time around. And honestly, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple, but I think it's going to make a lot of people happy. I highly recommend trying the knockout mode. I think that's really good. I also tested that out online, and that's something I want to point out is how seamless that was. I was just in the game and I just hopped online real quick, instantly found a match right away, and started racing with people. And it's good. I was just on Wi-Fi, I had no connection issues whatsoever, and just had a good race. I lost, of course, but that's how it goes with me. What is cool though, and especially playing with my wife who is more of a casual gamer, she did notice the visual fidelity with Mario Kart, like on a TV, blown up, high resolution, HDR, high frame rate. She was like, wow, this is definitely the best looking Mario Kart by a mile. And I was like, yes, it is. So you definitely will notice that. Other things in terms of like on the nerdier side, Cyberpunk 2077, in my limited experience, does seem like a good port. And I think people are ultimately going to be surprised. Where normally you think of a big, massive AAA game ported to the Nintendo Switch, you think very blurry, but it works. Here, it's better. Is it still like the ideal way to play Cyberpunk 2077? I don't know. But if you only have a Nintendo Switch or Switch 2 and you've been dying to try this game, you just know that you're not getting like a ultra compromised version. You're getting a decent playable version of the game that actually looks fairly good and you can get immersed. Again, I just want to say, like, I think some people are going to be surprised if they jump into that. It's pretty solid. And ultimately, I think that's where I want to wrap with this. Just first impressions is that for me, for the Nintendo Switch, I love seeing people line up for the midnight release and stuff like that. Me personally, I wasn't excited for launch just because I'm not a big Mario Kart guy, but for me, the feeling is that the best is yet to come. With things like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Metroid Prime 4 on the horizon, it really feels like this is going to be another solid Nintendo device. Right now, the early days, couple launch games, couple of experiences, couple of ports and stuff like that. It's fun to mess around with and see the improvements in the hardware, but also just getting the specs that a lot of people have wanted, a lot of the power, a lot of the capability people have been wanting the Nintendo Switch to have for a long time now. Is this thing a supercomputer? No, but it is a significant upgrade that I think is going to lead to some really cool games down the line from Nintendo. Yes, I hope it enables Nintendo first-party creators to make kick-ass games, but also maybe this time around, third-party developers can have a bit more fun and a little bit more wiggle room. That's ultimately it. That's my big phrase for this roundup review first impressions. It's great. It seems like a solid device with some little things, but ultimately the best is yet to come. And I hope this has a future. It's Nintendo. It's going to have a future. What am I saying? Like, oh yeah, good job, kid. Hope it works out for you. It's Nintendo. Anyway, I think I've talked enough. These are first impressions of the Nintendo Switch 2. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. If you jumped in and got one, I want to know what you're thinking, what launch games you're playing. I just started playing a little Hitman as well, just to see how it runs on this, because I'm a big fan of that game. But let me know what you're playing. Let me know if you jumped in. If you're waiting, if you're holding out, or you just didn't get one, let me know your thought process. Are you waiting until there's more games, more first-party games? Anything like that, let's talk. I do want to say, keep your eyes peeled because this was just first impressions. We're going to have a lot more videos on this, especially if you guys are interested. So the hardware, game reviews for the specific games, let us know. You can let us know just by clicking the like button. We appreciate that. It legit helps. That's really all we ever ask of you guys though, really. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. We'll see you guys next time.